Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And finally, another roster confirmation here for CDL 2022 with Seattle Surge confirming what their team is going to be. But also, spawns that are being raised is a significant concern for Vanguard. What might that potentially mean for competitive play? Very much intrigued to get your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really up to the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, this I thought was kind of funny from ILLey. We don't really know what's going on right now with the OpTic Dallas confirmation, when and where that is going to arrive, to be honest. But this also I thought was kind of interesting. What I would do to be able to load into a scrim right now. ILLey's certainly a grinder. He's raring and ready to go. Maybe that means an announcement is relatively soon around the corner, but it is tough to say. Of course, scrims will be done in custom games. There was also some interesting custom games discoveries here in Vanguard we'll talk about towards the end of the video, and certainly what that might potentially mean for competitive play this year. This I thought was kind of funny from Mutineers. Twitter is down, so nobody will see this. Intel Duck says about it joining the Mutineers. It does seem like he's going to be on this Pioneers GG Challengers team for this year, but I mean, still, Mutineers potentially an option. It's tough to say really what their SMG duo is going to be, and we don't really know what's going on in the Mutineers camp right now, so maybe Doug could be a pretty reasonable asset to their squad. But yes, it seems like this is bait at the end of the day. But it's something that certainly is not bait is this from the Seattle Surge, finally confirming what their roster is going to be. They talked a fair bit, and they did some bait and some kind of hints as to what their roster is, and it's pretty much as we were expecting it to be. Accuracy, Sib, Pred, and Mac is going to be the roster. This is really interesting, and I think is certainly one of the biggest upset potential teams in the league. I'm not expecting this roster to come into this year and dominate from the very start, but I certainly think they have the pieces to make something work. What I am happy about is that they've very much changed their philosophy on how they've built their squads the last couple of years. The last couple of years, they've pretty much paid big money for big name players towards, you know, the end of their career really, and not necessarily playing too well, and veteran players with, big names, but not exactly putting together the business at the end of the day. However, this season, very much a different story. They're going with accuracy as their main AR. I like the way they're building their team. They're kind of doing what FaZe have done this past year and saying, look, we don't need our main AR to be dropping 1.2s, 1.3s. We just need him to drop a solid 1.0 and be the veteran leader on this team, because that's effectively what Arcitys did for FaZe. Like, these guys, he basically drops a 1.0 every single event, like nothing special, and the rest of the guys on the team are the ones that are dropping the insane numbers, Simp, aBeZy, and Cellium, of course. But he's there to, like, do what he has to do, but also bring the whole team together and make the chemistry way better than it was when they didn't have Arcitys on the team, and also have an incredible bit of clutch factor. That's probably what they're wanting here out of accuracy. Come into this team, do great things with these younger players, get the best out of them, go off in a few game 5s and win some nice clutches, but outside of that, we're going to rely on the rest of the team to do the heavy slaying. So of course, then you move into that flex role, and that's going to be Sib, right? And Sib is one of the biggest question marks, I think, of the entire league. We've been talking about this guy for the last couple of years, the talent that he has, but certainly a bit of a hothead, right? Like, he's certainly been a character that's difficult to pin down in terms of, can you actually keep this guy under control? I think that accuracy could do a great job with that. I think the team is going to do a great job with that, but this isn't necessarily a team that I'm expecting to see these 4 players be on this team at the end of the year, but I think that they might well have some pieces here, certainly to build around going forwards, but I'm not necessarily sure this team is going to stick through the entire season, but certainly is a squad with a massive upset potential, I think, at the start of the year, and towards the end, when they get going, really has a lot of potential. I think some of the concern here as we kind of move through the rest of the team, of course, we've done the AR, we've done the flex, now I'm sure, like, Sib is certainly someone who's, well, I hope there's a good picture of him that comes out, to be honest, because he's probably going to be on a fair few thumbnails, maybe, with some drama that he might spark with other pro players. It's tough to say, but then, of course, we've got to figure out what the SMG duo is going to be, and that is going to be Pred, and that is going to be Mac. So Pred is, he's pretty much been in the same category in the Australian-New Zealand region as Hydra and Afro were. We know what Hydra did when he came into league this year on New York Subliners. We know what Afro did when he came in on London, especially towards the end. He was absolutely dominant. So the SMG duo that is going to accompany accuracy and Sib is going to be Mac, and it's going to be Pred. So Mac, of course, comes off the Subliners. I think he did great things, but to be fair, I would say that Mac, when he was at his scariest, it might have actually been with the AR in hand. So I'm somewhat concerned that Mac can consistently dominate with the SMG. I think it's going to be fine, but I think he was best placed where he could kind of use both weapons. Doesn't seem like that's going to be the case on this team. Sib's probably going to be using that second AR, but they could still change things around. But Pred Pred is, from what I've seen, an absolutely phenomenal entry SMG. Just like a Hydra, really, just like an Afro, a player in a similar category at the very least. I think he's a great player to build around, and I could well see the Seattle Surge squad going into future years, building around some of the amateur players that they've brought onto this squad. And I think Accuracy, to be fair, is one of the perfect players to try and meld these guys together and make them a solid search and destroy team. It's an interesting mix of players, there's no doubt about it. They've brought up, amateur talent for pretty much the first time Seattle Surge have tried to do that. I think that this might well work, though. I think Accuracy is a nice piece to bring things all together. He's going to do what's required, but of course the slaying is going to need to be there from the rest of the squad. I think it can be, I think it will be, but at the start of the year, I would be concerned that this team is going to be a massive force, but certainly a lot of upset potential here. And towards the end of the year, they might really have a lot of potential once they get things moving. But, I'm not necessarily convinced this squad is going to be the same squad for the entire season. I think there's certainly some friction potential here with, guys like Simp. We don't really know how this guy's going to handle being in the Pro League. We've seen a couple of times before. I'm pretty sure he almost had a chance last year on subliners that kind of fell through due to situations that were going on and, personality clashes and this type of stuff that Simp tends to get involved in. Whether he can move past that and hit his full peak potential, I think is that's going to be the real question of this team. I think Pred's going to be no problem. Mac's kind of like a quiet guy. He's going to do his job. Accuracy, you know what you're getting out of him, but Simp is the big question mark on this team. If this team meshes and does well there, I think he can obviously be a phenomenal player. But if not, then things could go sour quite quickly. So it's very exciting, really, to see a guy like Simp, who's been talked about for a couple of years as kind of this incredibly talented but difficult to deal with type player. Can he actually make it work here on Seattle Surge? I'm just happy that Seattle are taking this route, and honestly, given the names that they've had in previous years, I think they'll be more competitive this year than they have been the last couple of years, even with this team of players that a lot of people haven't necessarily heard of too much. Definitely intrigued to hear your perspective on this team down below, though, because I think a lot of people would say this team is probably in the 9 through 12 range. I would say that probably at the start of the year, but I think over time they certainly can move beyond that. It's just tougher. There's 12 teams, they're all going to be pretty good. It's tough to put this team too much higher initially, but I think they definitely have the potential to get things done, and certainly some great pieces to build around here in the future at the very least. But even then, this team of 4 could be very solid. I thought this is kind of funny from Accuracy. This is kind of what Accuracy's brought in to do on this team. For a guy like Simp, take the long way home so I can get that extra song in. You need to worry about taking the long route on rotations as Accuracy. So certainly already drilling this guy in the ways of what it takes to be a top tier professional Call of Duty player. Very interesting team though. This also from Vivid I thought was kind of interesting. He does the think emoji, right? And it is kind of a wonder really why Vivid hasn't yet seemingly been approached to be on one of these top tier teams. You could have thought he could have been a nice SMG duo combo to a guy like Pred. Maybe Pred and Vivid could work. I mean, Mac, I still think there's maybe a little bit of a question mark in that role. I think he can make it work, but most of the clips I've seen him dominate with this year with the Krig, and last year also with the M4 in hand sometimes tends to do pretty well. But I'm sure he can make it happen. But Vivid's kind of maybe wondering where his spot is going to lie for next year, if anywhere at all. And of course, what it does mean, as Atlanta FaZe say right here, Simp was actually their substitute the last season, even though of course he's never going to get used. And as RC says, who is the sub? And Doug St. Martin says, his dog is ready to go. But it does also raise a question, right? Who is going to be the sub for Atlanta FaZe? Who are they going to bring in instead? It's tough to say. Of course, Simp, he just sat there on the bench playing challenges and doing some pretty good things. But still, he was never going to get required in the starting team. That's kind of a bit of a question mark if you come into FaZe. Clearly, there is the potential there, even as a substitute, to get picked up elsewhere. But you're probably not going to be needed in the starting team. So you're kind of just taking the paycheck and knowing you're going to be playing challenges for the entire season. But that was still, fair play. Definitely, it remains to be seen what the substitutes are going to be for a lot of these rosters, even after the starting teams get confirmed. And then this from Dylan Envoy. The spawns, they do not faze me anymore. So, I mean, this is like a ridiculous clip, to be honest. Obviously, he's playing, there's a lot of people on this map, on this Eagle's Nest or whatever. I keep getting the map names wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is Eagle's Nest. And anyway, the spawns that don't faze me because, he's just getting absolutely crushed. He spawns in, gets shot in the back, spawns in, gets shot in the back, spawns in, gets shot in the back. I don't understand, how the spawns could possibly be so bad in this map. Now, yes, in 4 versus 4 hardpoint, it should be okay, but it certainly is a bit of a concern that the spawns look this bad already. There's so many situations, the squad spawns an absolute nightmare, and yes, there's a lot of people on this map, I'm pretty sure they're playing Patrol, but in hardpoint, how similar is it going to be to stuff like this? If the spawns don't make too much sense in this, then it definitely raises some questions, and as Jacob says as well, the spawns are a little bit concerning for next year, with Envoy, of course, now on his team over at Los Angeles Thieves, but Envoy just kind of knows how to deal with it at this point. His face just kind of goes, blank, because he just gets shot in the back again and again and again, and yeah, just a little concerning, but maybe more so than that, to be honest, as we move forward. This, though, I thought was very interesting from Cronus CDL Intel. Notable changes that can be changed in custom games, notable settings that can indeed be changed. So it was discovered right here that if you find your way into custom games, which somehow is possible, you can see what things can actually be changed in terms of settings. All of these things are available to turn off if you want to. Destructible walls, weapon mounting, weapon pings on the map, combat fog, so you can turn that on, I guess. Combat fog, which apparently is like weapon smoke, dynamic map element, and then the headshot bonus as well. The headshot bonus has been something that people have really been talking about, or at least if this means the headshot multiplier, then that's something people have been talking about, right? But just because it makes the time to kill like way quicker than maybe it should be in certain situations. So anyway, this is a lot of things that have been a concern. The destructible walls. At the same time though, if these things are disabled, and tactical sprint is also something you can turn off as well, so like you could, but probably that's not going to be turned off, right? Like they're probably not going to turn off tac sprint, but it's something you can do. There's a lot of options here, so fair play to Cellium providing all of this for maybe they are thinking about the competitive scene in this sense. At the same time though, like do you necessarily want to get rid of this stuff and make the game incredibly different to what the casual players are playing in public matches? Maybe you do. Like if it makes it better for competitive getting rid of the destructible walls, then maybe you should, but maybe it's just not the best to kind of coincide the two situations, right? The pro play and the more casual side. But yeah, weapon mounting, get that out of it. I'm down for that to go. But certainly this is a good sign, I think, from some perspective, as Octane says. These in-game settings from Sledgehammer are super W. The ability to disable dynamic map elements, tactical sprint altogether, and mini-map adjustments and all those other things we looked at. But Gunless has a different opinion on the matter. The only thing I'm sad about playing the beta these last few days is how completely they have divided public matches and competitive, and how I won't be able to enjoy pubs like I used to back in the past games, as this game will be so brutally different that it will be pointless practice. So interesting take really just to finish out the video here, that yes, like it seems like he's expecting the public matches and competitive play, maybe partly because of these reasons we've just looked at, are going to be so different that what's the point even playing public matches, right? And kind of coinciding what the casuals play and what the more competitive players play is probably something we want to try and aim for. But with all the changes they seem to be making and these options that are now arriving in the game, maybe that's not going to be the case, right? So certainly some questions to think about going forwards. But yeah, some positive things. Seattle roster is very interesting. Spawns and some other things for custom games seem kind of promising, but maybe also some concerns still remaining. Very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoy this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.